And thank you, everybody, for joining us. My presentation will talk about the development of Sustainable Pavements Community of Practice, which was facilitated through the work of Sustainable Pavements Program. And that was the role that I was working on for the past 4 years before I switched. So this is kind of the kudos and pom-poms for my old group, which I think is amazing. I have my colleague Michelle Helsel here with me to support, and I really want to, I don't have any slides that show you how concrete is mixed, no slides with concrete ingredients, no slide with life cycle. I think all previous presenters have done excellent jobs, so we know kind of these basics. But what I really want to do today is something that I haven't done and done justice to my group, kind of tell you a really nice success story about a group that was doing sustainability way before it was cool. So let's see how this success story came to be. Sustainable Pavements Program is the branch of Federal Highway Administration. It's the program that has the main goal to facilitate knowledge and practice of more sustainable pavements through stakeholder involvement, education, and development of tools. So as you can see, education and stakeholder involvement are very important, and that has been very pivotal for the success of this group. And within our work, we have concluded that as sustainability is gaining more and more prominence, there is an increasing interest to educate people, educate them fast. We really need a really good student education, but we also need an education of the existing workforce because we don't have time. So in this lecture, I will cover about how we have formed this community of practice and what are some key strategies we have found successful through our work of over a decade on how to bring people together along common vision. So basically, I'll talk about educational efforts and best practices, how this community was formed, and which successes it has led to. About Sustainable Pavements Program, it was created more than 10 years ago, I believe at this point, 12 years ago. It has managed to create a national dialogue on pavement sustainability. We have done over 20 Sustainable Pavement Technical Working Group meetings that bring together stakeholders from all various areas. We have done significant benchmarking of knowledge. There is a lot of resources. I don't want to talk about all of them. You can find them on the website, but this was very pivotal and very important to see where we are and where we want to be because sustainability was so new back in the day. The development of a lot of educational material in different formats, I'll talk about that more, as well as Pavement LCA tool that uses and supports the use of EPDs. We have informed policy. We have worked with everybody across the spectrum, across administrations. As you know, this work can be sensitive under certain circumstances, and this program has just been very successful throughout. We have also done a lot of work to facilitate adoption of common definitions. I think this is the artifact of the fact that we don't have really good sustainability education as part of most engineering curricula, so many people don't even know what sustainability is. We have heard crazy things, we have heard many creative answers and options. A very important goal was to bring everybody on the same page. We were talking about UN sustainability definition from 1987. We were talking about triple bottom line, trade-offs, environmental, economic, social aspects of sustainability, balancing triple bottom line. And this one came out of our latest stakeholder meeting that summarizes sustainability as the practice that minimizes environmental impacts while maximizing economic benefits and ensuring equitable social outcomes. So you have all three of these. It's not just environmental, it's not just economic, it's not just social, it's all three in a balanced way. So a lot of definitions and a lot of this benchmarking and background knowledge was developed. And that was actually the first phase, benchmarking state of knowledge, which started in 2010. And as a result, we had two key documents that we always give to our stakeholders to refer to them. And I definitely encourage you, for education of your students or colleagues, check them out. They're very good and very comprehensive. One of them was called Towards Sustainable Pavement System. It's a reference document. And the other one was a life cycle assessment framework document in the domain of pavement. So during these during this first phase that was about 5 years, a lot of work has been done to benchmark the state of knowledge. And then in the second phase, we have started with implementation, and we have transitioned from calling things sustainable practices to actually measuring things. We always say to our stakeholders, whenever somebody tells you this is sustainable, you say, show me the data. Where is the data? We are engineers, we like to measure things, we cannot improve things we don't measure, and that's why we want to encourage everybody to move from these platitudes and like cute little pictures, show me the data, where are the results. So that was kind of very big and important part of phase 2 in implementation, major data collection and tool development to corroborate our statements with actual data. Lessons learned, I have 9 of them, and I'll try to run through them real quick. This slide always gets me in trouble, and it's not approved. Don't tell anybody, because we list all these various stakeholders and somebody always comes and says, where's me? Why am I not on the list? We cannot list all of them. There's many, many more. But I have color coded them in various colors just to show that we work with industry. We helped industry establish their EPD programs. We inform these EPD programs in many ways. We work with academia. If your academic institution is not here, it doesn't mean we haven't worked, it just didn't make it to the slide. Development of multiple research studies, tools, data curation, and so on. We work with state DOTs. They're very important stakeholder. Many of them, not just these that are listed, but we have explicitly case studies developed with them. Many federal agencies, very important for our federal LCA Commons data sets, and FHWA programs. So internally within FHWA, we are a glue. We are kind of the octopus that reaches its tentacles all across. We work with everybody. If you take a picture, don't share it with our lawyers. Okay, stakeholder involvement, bread and butter of what we do. Sustainability, you cannot do sustainability outside of the context, so we always want to marry it to something, maybe concrete pavements, concrete bridges, asphalt pavements. Yes, I said asphalt, we work with everybody. That's how it is in the federal government. And we are involving folks all across the aisle. We are involving folks from design, from planning, from procurement, because you can make more sustainable decisions at multiple points. So it's important for us to really talk to everybody. We have set programmatically our technical working group, and you can see we have met over 20 times all across the country, and that's where they provide us feedback. That's where we do intensive work sessions. It's open to public. You can participate if you'd like, and these are very important meetings for us to understand, keep the finger on the pulse of industry, academia, state DOTs, and include that in our future work. We also have for states that have legislated Buy Clean or are considering Buy Clean, we have this new working group. I'm promoting the next webinar that's coming up on June 6th. So you can check it out. We're just providing a lot of educational resources for the states that are interested. So we are very involved in the current happenings. Second thing I want to say, we have developed a lot of educational materials, and what we have found out to be very effective is to provide them in different formats. Also, many of FHWA programs are not branded. Our program is branded. It has logos, it has like graphics, we have hired designers, we have very strong brand recognition, so we work a lot on this market presence, and we also provide various formats. So we have these lengthy reference documents that are like multi-hundred pages documents, but we also have simple tech briefs. We have one-pagers that we bring to conferences. C-suite executives don't read 200-page documents. You need to capture their attention very fast. So we work a lot on design. And then also we group them by topic. In FHWA, often they group things by like, oh, all of our tech briefs are on one page. But if you actually want to learn about LCA, hey, you have a webinar, you have one pager, you have a whole book, you have a tool. So like we group things across the topics and therefore make them more accessible to our audience. Third thing is that we have noticed in very early days that we have more demand and supply of educators. So we have decided to educate the educators within FHWA, and we have created a Sustainability Ambassadors Program, which is an award-winning program that has spread across others. They are now called PACTs. And we have trained people to give specific sustainability-related presentations and provided funding for them to travel and present on sustainability topics based on our materials to their different audiences. And that helps us reach expand our outreach, and it helps us reach newer audiences that didn't learn about sustainability before. And we didn't have to travel every week, so we could actually get something done. Our internal collaborations were very good, and I am happy to say that we have worked with most programs across the board within FHWA. And before my time, often that was like, oh, we'll give you a presentation with a bunch of definitions, you should do sustainability. We approached things a little bit differently, saying, hey, what are you curious about? What are you actually working on? So for example, we presented this work yesterday. We worked with Mobile Concrete Technology Center, and we asked them, what are you currently promoting? They say performance engineered mixtures. We said, perfect, we'll do an LCA for that. It's very important to show them that these tools are like Swiss Army knives that you can apply to multiple things, and people are very interested when you rather than shoving your agenda down their throat, you actually try to do something that relates to what they're already trying to do. And this one was extremely successful, and now they can show their LCA alongside all the other metrics that they are already sharing. So we are kind of a social butterfly that can work with everybody. Also, using research to bust myths, I was working there as a postdoc for 2 years, and I have done a lot of research studies on LCA. There is a lot of unknown, and I feel like I have at least 10 or 15 presentations, 10 sustainability myths busted. I get people come to me and say all sorts of things, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, this is not true. And instead of doing that, or in addition to doing that, we really want to show the data and kind of stay consistent to our mantra of show me the data. So this study, for example, came from my frustration that people often come to me and say, hey, if you want to lower concrete's embodied carbon, performance is going to go down the drain. And I'm like, okay, sure, let's test the data and let's see if this assumption actually is founded in reality. As it turned out, here you can see negative correlation between surface resistivity and global warming potential. So your mixes that perform well in one aspect perform well in another. And it's much easier to convince people when you're using actual data rather than platitudes. Something we have also tried with our stakeholders is scenario-based learning. So we told them a lot about Buy Clean initiatives, and they were interested or not. It's like, oh my God, I don't know how that's going to work. And we said, okay, sure, let's do a role play. Imagine if you're working at State DOT, it's Thursday, somebody came to you and brought this. What are you going to do? What's your next step? You have 15 minutes. How are you going to implement this policy? And we got some actually really interesting responses. People have brought up very interesting concerns and comments. And that was much more effective than having them sit through like half an hour presentation about Buy Clean policy, bunch of definitions and so on. Also, when we teach people about EPDs, what we also like to do is print a couple of EPDs, give them 10 minutes and say, hey, fill in these tables. Can you find this information very quickly? I have taught many 30-minute presentations about EPDs, but then 10-minute exercise when people actually look into that is much more effective, much more interesting, and they learn much more, and they're able to ask you much better questions, much more specific questions. We have all these materials. If you're interested to try something in your classroom, in your next meeting, please let me know. One more thing that we are working on and that I'd like to promote here is our NHI course, which will be released at the end of April, beginning of May. And it's sustainability education course, sustainability of infrastructure. And it's based on gamification, micro-learning, self-directed and experiential learning. So you're essentially becoming a character, I'm sorry, I don't know how this happens, that travels through State DOT and talks to different people and learns about different aspects of sustainability in planning, design, procurement, and does some little exercises and gets like a bunch of resources. The course will be available fully online, and I think it's going to be free also for a period of time, so definitely keep your eye on that. These are quick comments that we got from our pilot testers, and we got really good first feedback. Also, something that I really like to bring up are practical examples. I know we had cookies, I know we had like a bunch of things. My go-to is coffee, comparing ceramic coffee mug to paper coffee mugs, and using that to explain functional unit and functionality a little bit better. I think Dr. Ferraro's presentation had that famous slide where you have all these materials mapped, and I use that slide a lot, but it's very important to remember that just because 1 kilogram of concrete has lower CO2 than 1 kilogram of plastics, can you really compare them? I mean, it gives you a little bit of information, but like they serve different function. So we want to bake in this functionality so your ceramic coffee mug can be used multiple times. So 1 coffee mug is equal to 100, let's say, paper mugs. To bring this more to concrete side, we have used this for UHPC. We asked our UHPC program, what are you struggling with? And they are like, everybody says UHPC is super expensive. I'm like, have you heard of functional unit? We can help you. So in this study, we have compared different thicknesses of LMC, latex modified concrete, and conventional concrete to much thinner UHPC overlay. And we have got equal or slightly better performance by UHPC, depends on the environmental impact, but when you also factor in the need for less repairs or no repairs at all throughout service life, of course, UHPC performs much better. So it's really helpful if you help stakeholders put these examples in the appropriate context, just like with our coffee mugs, so that they are not comparing apples and oranges and kind of spreading myths and unfounded assumptions. We have used a lot of interactive tools. This one is Padlet. This one is Myro. This is Jamboard is another one. I'm not affiliated to any of them. I just love them all. Especially during the pandemic, it was very important for us to keep things fun and interesting. And this is really useful because you can gather feedback from multiple stakeholders, think about that, organize it, and use it to inform your work. So very, very good and important tools. Finally, all of these efforts have led to many, many major successes. One of them is federal Buy Clean, Inflation Reduction Act. We have directly informed many of these efforts. We worked with White House, many of them, but I think my favorite one is Climate Challenge. We opened up this big initiative to, well, we thought it's going to be small. We were hoping 5 state DOTs will apply. Actually, it turned out we got 30 proposals from 27 agencies, including 2 local agencies. You can see the map. They're all across. They're not just 3 hugging states, how some of our people like to say. Circled ones are the ones considering or people who have legislated by clean acts. In red are the ones who are considering, yellow are the ones who already have them, but we have many others in states you wouldn't think would be interested in sustainability. And I would argue all of that had to do with very broad stakeholder involvement on many layers, and I really hope you find some of these lessons interesting and applicable to your practice. With that, Migdalia Carrion is Sustainable Pavements Program Manager and Latoya Team Lead. You can also connect with me through LinkedIn or email. I can share that too. Michelle is also here. Check out the website, and if you're interested in EPDs, also this new initiative here.